right away, the intro on episode 2 is pretty good, pretty interesting. We got O Father leading the serum for A Train's death, basically, and they blame it on Starlight, saying that Starlight killed A Train, and Homelander just gives some great facial expressions. And towards the end of the whole funeral processions and O Father's speech, he has a little bit of a familiar voice calling back to him, and he's slowly starting to lose his mind. And I think the intro for episode 2 is actually a great beginning step. I like everything they do with O Father in this series so far. Crazy part for the beginning of the boys and what their new home base is. It's basically like an elementary school in Pennsylvania. They still have the scientist who's helping create the virus for them, and for some reason the entire group instantly covers for Butcher and just doesn't mention that Butcher may or may not have killed his wife, Victoria Newman. But they're just going to brush that under the rug. No real biggie. The whole plot setup is actually centered around the boys in this episode, other than actually being like Homelander's plot, like episode 1. And Butcher and Frenchie, for some reason, just come up with the random idea to hunt down this dude who was a part of the Teenage Kicks, Rockhard. Great name. He's basically like the Thing, but when he comes molten lava, and that's going to be needed for the rest of the story. So just remember that. Really, it's a very just we got to do this, mate. Bloody hell, oi, hell yeah, mate. The next scene does sort of set up the tension for most of the season 5. If I remember correctly, Huey's questioning why we need to use a virus that'll kill all soups, because he doesn't think all soups are bad, even though I'm pretty sure by this point in the series, Huey should realize that most soups are bad. Am I advocating for a soup genocide? I don't know, but Annie does say it's 10,000 to 8 billion people, so, is there much of a choice that they can really make? I don't know, but Kimiko and Huey are pretty much alone in not wanting to spread the virus everywhere. So then we finally get another just excellent Anthony Starr scene. Again, he's carrying this show. We had a bit more filler of just some love scenes, is what it is. But then we got Anthony Starr talking to A Train in his casket, and he's questioning himself as to why he treated him like a big brother, but he still bit his hand, and he feels like anything he does, he's still at this point where everybody dies, and he's pretty oblivious as to who's making these decisions and why people are dying. And he's just slowly decaying more and more this season. The first 2 episodes, it's really good so far, and I just can't praise it more than I can, really. This in turn gives you the scene of Homelander running back home, and he unlocks his refrigerator where Soldier Boy is, and obviously I'm excited. I think this season we get a lot of Soldier Boy, and people are divided on it, but I do think Jensen Ackles' Soldier Boy is really good. And the reasoning for Homelander opening it up, he just feels like he's really lonely and that no one loves him, so he's looking for his father figure in Soldier Boy, right? Whole gang arrives in a van at the Kicks Crib content house. It's like a TikTok YouTuber content house for teenagers from Gen V. And I don't know, some of them are also newer soups that I don't think have been shown before. But it is a good setup, and thinking about it now, this episode's pretty fun. We also get the hilarious reveal of Rockhard just being like stuck in the basement of the house because he's a giant badass, which is pretty hilarious to me, actually. Then we get a funny interaction between Homelander and Soldier Boy. Homelander simply protests his own case on why he should be trusted, and he just simply asks Soldier Boy to hunt down William Butcher for him, and he hands him back his shield even. And there's a couple funny moments in it. It's pretty great, pretty funny. Again, this episode so far, I have pretty much 0 complaints about so far, for the most part. We do get a little funny interaction between the President, Homelander, and Soldier Boy, where the President is being told by Sage how he needs to round up Starlighters, and he just simply asks the most important question of if there's immunity, which I think is hilarious. And then Homelander makes the president pardon Soldier Boy and get him a Manhattan. The president complies and then asks Homelander in front of Soldier Boy if he wants a glass of milk. And Anthony Starr's face is great in that moment. And then we pretty much cut from that scene, but it's actually a funny little moment. A little too much talking about rounding up Starlighters though in the beginning. Then we get a gross scene with explanation behind why Rockhard looks like a fat ass. He's not actually fat. He just he comes molten lava, and he's becoming just a giant mound of his own semen, and it's pretty disgusting. But it's the explanation that they're going for Rockhard, and his name is pretty on the nose, I would say. Shout out to MM for pouring one out for A-Train. He deserved it. Nice little scene right there with MM, heartfelt moment. We do get a little explanation between a conversation of Annie and Frenchie on why Annie just doesn't care about the virus and just wants to die, kind of. She blames herself for all her Starlighters' deaths and just for getting them rounded up and putting them in camps. And she's not grieving very well with that issue, which I think is actually a perfectly fine reason behind how she's feeling in this moment, really. Then we get a skit basically of Teenage Kit Crew, the She-Line, and the other dude who's recording a TikTok video for Turbo Rush, a mid-ad while arresting a Starlighter woman, and just the complete disregard for her life or anything that's happening with her. Honestly, actually, I kind of like this. I think it's actually hilarious as well. Homelander also stiffs the strap that was holding Soldier Boy in the fridge. Pretty weird. Pretty damn weird, my guy. Something that feels like an actual plot hole in this show and this season is that they finally create the virus, at least the first version of the virus, and they put it in this weird vial that then you screw into a plastic tube, and they treat it as extremely fragile. But then, of course, with extremely fragile objects, spoiler alert, I'm going to spoil that now, it never breaks. So there's no tension for me in the second watch at this at all with these sort of situations, and it's terrible for second watches. Man. Soldier Boy interrupts Huey and Butcher on their way back to the Kicks Crew Club, and we get a really good Butcher and Soldier Boy interaction where Butcher pretty much lays it out flat and warns Soldier Boy, hey, Homelander is selling you out again. The virus we have can kill you. And Soldier Boy just calls his bluff. And it's a good moment. It's another really good moment. The Kicks Crew finds Soldier Boy, and one of them calls him a dead socialist, and he just punches him right in the face. And it's another just amazing. This is why I love Soldier Boy scenes. They're so fucking good. They're so freaking good. Again, they talk about the vial being extremely, extremely fragile, but the vial just gets thrown onto the ground, which, I mean, right onto the pavement of the road, so I don't know how it didn't break right there. Huey gets picked up by one of the Kicks crew members and gets dropped out of the fucking sky, and Annie somehow randomly grabs him. I wouldn't say plot hole or anything, but I don't know how Annie knew he was fucking getting flung through the sky. Huey manages to lead them back, Soldier Boy down into the basement with the virus and does a little quick swap and manages to catch Soldier Boy and one of the Kicks crew members along with Rockhard with the virus. It blows Rockhard's head up, and the other Kicks crew member just kind of falls on the floor and pretty much dies. The Soldier Boy seemingly is able to control it longer until he passes out as well. I will say, between Soldier Boy passing out and towards the end of this episode, there's just a lot of filler in this episode. A lot more than there was in the first episode. I didn't feel like there was any filler in the first episode. So we're already getting fillery in episode 2. Who would have thought? Anthony Starr, Homelander, rolls back up on the scene and sees that Soldier Boy has died, pretty much. He's extremely pissed off, and Deep's there to report it to him. The Deep tries to make a joke calling Soldier Doy or whatever. I think he called him Soldier Doy. And so Homelander flashes his laser eyes and makes the Deep piss his pants, which is pretty funny. But then right at the end of the episode, when Homelander's truly crying and questioning why everyone keeps leaving him, Soldier Boy sits up like the fucking Undertaker in 2008, ready for another round, because he's just a little too strong for the first version of this V-Virus. And we get the end of episode 2. Overall, I'd say episode 2 was pretty enjoyable. There was a little bit more filler in this episode than before, but I'd say I enjoy it.